She grabbed his wrist. Her fingers were ice cold, trembling. "Take the money," she whispered. $100,000, just marry me." Derek Chen froze. Rain soaked through his torn delivery jacket. This woman, the CEO's daughter, stood before him at midnight, mascara streaming down her face, desperation cracking her voice. "Please," she begged. "I'm not asking you to love me. I'm asking you to save me." Behind her, the mansion blazed with lights, music, laughter, her own birthday party. But Victoria Blackwell wasn't celebrating. She was running, and she had just chosen a stranger to be her escape. But if you want to know what happens next, subscribe to my channel and follow this story until the very end. Drop a comment telling me which city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now let's begin. Derek's mind went blank. $100,000. The words didn't make sense. Nothing about this moment made sense. 30 seconds ago, he was a delivery driver finishing his last order of the night. Exhausted, soaked, ready to go home to his daughter. Now the richest woman he'd ever met was begging him to marry her. "You're joking," he said. "Do I look like I'm joking?" He looked at her face, really looked. Her eyes were swollen. Her lips were trembling. There was something in her expression that hit him like a punch to the chest. Fear, real fear. "Miss Blackwell." "Victoria." She cut him off. "My name is Victoria, and I need your answer. Tonight." "I don't even know you." "I know." Her voice cracked. "But you're the only person who's ever looked at me like I was human." Derek's heart stuttered. He remembered now. 3 weeks ago, his daughter Lily had a fever, a bad one. He was in the middle of a delivery run, panicked, trying to get home. He'd called this address, begged someone to come downstairs so he could leave faster. The door had opened. It was her, Victoria. She'd seen him holding Lily, seen the fear in his eyes, seen the exhaustion carved into every line of his face. She hadn't complained about the wait, hadn't looked at him with disgust like other rich customers did. Instead, she'd handed him a clean handkerchief and whispered, "Take care of her. You're a good father." 6 words, 6 words that stayed with him for weeks. Now she stood in front of him, offering him a fortune, asking for something money couldn't buy. "Why me?" Derek asked. Victoria's jaw tightened. "Because you look tired, and tired people don't lie." Behind them, the mansion doors burst open. A security guard stepped out. Tall, broad, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Derek's rent. "Miss Blackwell." His voice was sharp. "Your father is asking for you." Victoria didn't turn around. "Tell him I'm busy." "Miss Blackwell, I said I'm busy." The guard's eyes shifted to Derek. Disgust spread across his face like oil on water. "Who is this? None of your concern. He's a delivery driver." The guard spat the words like they were poison. "Miss Blackwell, you can't seriously be what?" Victoria turned now. Her voice dropped to ice. "Be what exactly?" The guard hesitated. "Say it," Victoria pressed. "Say what you're thinking. I want to hear you say it out loud." Silence. "That's what I thought." She stepped closer to the guard, and even though she was half his size, something in her presence made him step back. "Now go inside and tell my father I'll join him when I'm ready, not before." The guard's face twisted with barely concealed contempt, but he turned and walked back toward the mansion. Victoria exhaled slowly. "Sorry about that," she said to Derek. "They think they own me because my father pays their salary." Derek shook his head. "You didn't have to defend me." "Yes, I did." Her eyes met his. "Because nobody else ever does. Right?" The question hit too close to home. Derek thought about all the times he'd been dismissed, ignored, treated like he was invisible, Customers who wouldn't look at him when they took their food. Security guards who talked about him like he wasn't standing right there. He'd learned to swallow it, to stay quiet, to keep his head down. But this woman, this rich, powerful woman, had just defended him without hesitation. "You're different," he said quietly, "from other rich people." Victoria laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "I'm not different," she said. "I'm just trapped, like you." The rain picked up. Victoria shivered, but she didn't move toward shelter. Neither did Derek. "Tell me why," he said. "Why what? Why you need to get married tonight to a stranger?" Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached up and pulled back her sleeve. Derek's stomach dropped. Bruises, dark purple and blue, finger-shaped marks wrapped around her wrist. "Who did that to you?" His voice came out low, dangerous. Victoria pulled her sleeve back down quickly. "It doesn't matter." "It does. People who think they own me." She said it flatly, like she'd said it 1,000 times before, like she'd stopped expecting anyone to care. Derek felt something shift in his chest, something he thought had died 3 years ago when his wife walked out. Anger. Not the dull, tired anger he carried every day. This was sharp, hot, alive. "Is it your father?" "No." Victoria shook her head. "My father controls me with contracts and expectations. He doesn't need to use his hands." She paused. "His name is Marcus Sterling, my fiancé, or the man who's supposed to be my fiancé." "Supposed to be?" "My father arranged it. A business merger. Sterling Industries and Blackwell Real Estate. Together they'd control half the commercial property in Seattle." Her voice turned bitter. "All it costs is me." Derek's mind raced. He knew about men like Marcus Sterling. He'd seen them on TV and magazines at fancy restaurants where he delivered food. Men who smiled for cameras and crushed people in private. "When's the wedding?" he asked. 3 months. "And if you're already married?" "They can't force me." Victoria's eyes lit up with desperate hope. "That's the only loophole. If I'm legally married to someone else, the arrangement falls apart. The contract becomes void. So you need a husband. I need a husband who won't try to control me, who won't use me, who won't—" Her voice broke. She pressed her hand to her mouth, trying to hold herself together. Derek watched her struggle. He thought about his own life. The 3 jobs, the exhaustion, the tiny apartment where his daughter slept in the only bed while he took the floor. $100,000 would change everything. He could pay off his debts, move to a better place, give Lily the life she deserved. But money always came with strings. "What happens after a year?" he asked. "We divorce quietly. You keep the money, I keep my freedom. We never have to see each other again." "And if your father finds out it's fake?" Victoria's face tightened. "He won't. How can you be sure? Because we'll make it real." She stepped closer. "We'll live together. We'll act like a married couple. And in 1 year, when the dust settles and the Sterling deal is dead, we go our separate ways." Derek should have said no. Every instinct told him this was a trap. Rich people didn't help poor people. They used them. But then Victoria said something that changed everything. "I know you have a daughter." Derek's blood went cold. "What? Lily? She's 6 years old. She draws pictures of houses because she dreams about having a real home someday." Victoria's voice softened. "I'm not threatening you. I'm telling you I understand what you're fighting for. And I would never do anything to hurt her." "How do you know about my daughter?" "Because I pay attention." Victoria's eyes were steady. "Every time you delivered here, I watched you. Not because I was planning this, but because you were the only person who ever seemed real. You weren't trying to impress anyone. You weren't faking anything. You were just a father trying to survive." Derek couldn't speak. "That's why I chose you," Victoria continued. "Not because you're poor, not because I thought you'd be easy to buy, but because I've watched you return every tip I ever left you. $50, $100, you always gave it back." She paused. "You have more pride than anyone I've ever met, and right now I need someone with that kind of integrity." The mansion doors opened again. This time it wasn't a guard. It was a man. Tall, silver hair, a face that looked like it had been carved from stone. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than Derek's car. Richard Blackwell, the CEO of Blackwell Real Estate, Victoria's father. "Victoria," his voice was calm, controlled, terrifying. "Come inside. Now." Victoria didn't move. "I'm in the middle of something, Father." "You're in the middle of embarrassing yourself." Richard Blackwell walked down the steps slowly, each footstep deliberate. "And embarrassing me? I don't care about embarrassing you. You should." Richard reached the bottom of the steps and stopped. His eyes shifted to Derek. "Who is this?" "Nobody you need to worry about." "He's a delivery driver." Richard's voice dripped with contempt. "I can smell the cheap food on him from here." Derek's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent. "Victoria," Richard continued, "I have 300 guests inside waiting to celebrate your birthday, including Marcus Sterling, your fiancé." "He's not my fiancé." "He will be, in 3 months." "No." The word hung in the air like a blade. Richard's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes, something cold, dangerous. "Victoria, don't test me." "Or what?" Victoria stepped forward. "You'll cut me off. You already control my bank accounts. You'll lock me in my room. You've been doing that for years. What else is left, Father? What else can you possibly take from me? Your dignity." Richard's voice was ice. "If you continue this tantrum, in front of the help, I will have security escort you inside. And tomorrow the entire city will read about how Victoria Blackwell had a mental breakdown at her own birthday party." Victoria flinched like she'd been slapped. Derek watched her shrink, watched the fire in her eyes flicker and die. This was how Richard Blackwell controlled his daughter. Not with fists, with fear, with shame, with the threat of public humiliation. Something inside Derek snapped. "She said no." Richard's head turned slowly toward him, like a predator noticing a mouse for the first time. "Excuse me?" "She said no." Derek's voice was steady. "She doesn't want to go inside. She doesn't want to marry Marcus Sterling, and she doesn't want you making decisions for her." Silence. Complete silence. Even the rain seemed to pause. Richard Blackwell stared at Derek for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was the most terrifying smile Derek had ever seen. "You have no idea who you're talking to, do you?" "I know exactly who you are." Derek didn't back down. "You're a man who thinks money gives him the right to control people. But it doesn't. Not out here. Not in the real world." "The real world?" Richard laughed softly. "You think you understand the real world? You deliver food for a living. You probably live in some rat-infested apartment with your daughter. You have nothing. You are nothing." "Maybe." Derek shrugged. "But at least my daughter knows I love her. Can you say the same about yours?" The smile vanished from Richard's face. For one terrifying second, Derek thought the man was going to hit him. But instead, Richard turned to Victoria. "Is this what you want, this peasant, this nobody?" Victoria looked at her father, then at Derek, then back at her father, and for the first time that night she smiled. "Yes," she said. "He's exactly what I want." Richard Blackwell didn't say another word. He turned and walked back into the mansion, his footsteps echoing like gunshots. Victoria watched him go. Her hands were shaking. "You shouldn't have done that," she whispered. "Probably not. He'll destroy you. He'll find out everything about you, your debts, your past, your daughter's school. He'll use it all against you. Derek shrugged. My life's already destroyed, can't get much worse. Victoria stared at him, really stared like she was seeing him for the first time. You're either the bravest man I've ever met, she said, or the stupidest. Probably both. She laughed. A real laugh. It transformed her face, made her look younger, softer. So, she said, does this mean you'll do it? You'll marry me? Derek was quiet for a long moment. He thought about Lily, about the drawings she made every night, pictures of houses with big yards and swing sets, about the way she asked him every morning if they'd ever live somewhere nice. He thought about the 3 jobs that still weren't enough, about the landlord threatening to raise the rent again, about the medical bills he couldn't pay. He thought about his ex-wife's voice. You're not worth loving, Derek. You don't make enough money to be worth anything. And then he thought about Victoria, a woman who had everything and nothing at the same time, a woman trapped in a cage made of gold, a woman who saw him, really saw him when everyone else looked right through him. Not for the money, he said. Victoria blinked. What? I'll do it, but not for the money. Then why? Derek looked her straight in the eyes. Because nobody should be forced to marry someone they don't want, not even rich people. Victoria's breath caught. I have one condition, Derek continued. Name it. You get to decide your own life, not your father, not me, not Marcus Sterling. If we do this, it's so you can be free. Really free. Tears spilled down Victoria's cheeks. But for the first time that night, they weren't tears of despair. They were tears of hope. Okay, she whispered. Yes, I agree. Derek pulled out his phone. I'm writing it down, a real contract. Your freedom is the only term that matters. He typed marriage contract duration 1 year payment $100, $1,000. Condition: Victoria Blackwell must have full autonomy over her own life decisions. No control, no ownership, only respect. He showed her the screen. Victoria read it twice, then she looked up at him with something he couldn't quite name. No one has ever... She stopped, swallowed, started again. No one has ever protected me like this before. Then it's about time someone did. She typed her name with trembling fingers. Then he typed his. It was done. A struggling single dad and a CEO's daughter, bound by a contract built not on love or money, but on the desperate hope that freedom was still possible, even in a world designed to take it away. 3 days later, they stood in front of a judge at the Seattle courthouse. No ceremony, no flowers, no music. Just 2 signatures on a piece of paper. Victoria wore a white dress she'd bought from a thrift store for $30, the first thing she'd ever purchased with her own hands. Derek wore the only suit he owned, borrowed from a neighbor 5 years ago for a job interview he never got. When the judge pronounced them married, neither of them knew what to say. They walked out into the gray Seattle morning, the marriage certificate in Victoria's hands. It's real now, she said quietly. Derek nodded. Yeah, it is. Are you scared? He thought about it. A little. Me too. She looked at him. Terrified, actually. They both laughed, nervous, uncertain, but honest. So what now? Victoria asked. Derek took a deep breath. Now, he said, you meet my daughter. The apartment was exactly what Derek had warned her about. 400 square feet above Wong's laundromat. 1 room, a hot plate instead of a stove, a window that didn't close all the way. The smell of detergent drifting up through the floorboards. Victoria stood in the doorway, taking it in. She'd lived in mansions her entire life. Private jets, 5-star hotels, rooms bigger than this entire building. But none of those places had ever felt like home. "It's small," Derek said behind her. "I know. It's yours," Victoria replied. "That's what matters." From the corner of the room, a small voice spoke up. "Daddy!" Victoria turned. A little girl stood by the bed, 6 years old, messy pigtails, wearing pajamas with cartoon dinosaurs on them. She was clutching a stuffed rabbit and staring at Victoria with wide, curious eyes. "Lily," Derek said softly. "This is Victoria. She's going to be staying with us for a while." Lily tilted her head. "Is she your friend?" Derek glanced at Victoria. "Something like that." "She's really pretty." Victoria felt her heart crack open. "Thank you," she managed to say. "You're really pretty too." Lily smiled a bright, innocent smile that lit up the whole room. "Daddy says I have to share the bed if someone stays over." Lily looked at Victoria seriously. "But you have to sleep on the side by the wall because I fall off sometimes." Victoria knelt down so she was eye level with the little girl. "I promise to stay on my side," she said. "And if you fall, I'll catch you." Lily studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded, apparently satisfied. "Okay. Do you like dinosaurs?" "I love dinosaurs." "Good." Lily grabbed Victoria's hand and tugged her toward the bed. "Come look at my drawings. I drew a T-Rex yesterday, but Daddy said it looks like a chicken." Derek watched them go, his chest tight with emotions he couldn't name. He'd expected Victoria to be uncomfortable, to look down on their tiny apartment, to regret her decision the moment she saw how he really lived. But instead, she was sitting on the floor with his daughter, looking at crayon drawings like they were priceless artwork. Maybe, just maybe, this impossible arrangement could actually work. That first night, Victoria learned several things. She learned that the walls were so thin you could hear the neighbors arguing 2 doors down. She learned that the heater made a rattling sound like a dying engine and only worked half the time. She learned that Lily talked in her sleep and kicked like a mule, and she learned that Derek Chen slept on the floor. Every night, without complaint, because the bed was for Lily. Victoria lay awake for hours, staring at the water-stained ceiling, listening to Derek's quiet breathing from his spot on the threadbare rug. This man, this exhausted, overworked, underpaid man, gave up his bed for his daughter. He worked 3 jobs so she could have food and clothes and a roof over her head. He returned every tip Victoria had ever given him because he refused to accept charity. And when a stranger asked him to fake a marriage for money, he'd agreed, but only after making sure her freedom was protected. Victoria had grown up surrounded by rich men. Men who measured their worth in bank accounts and business deals. Men who bought their way out of problems and bought their way into power. But she had never met a man like Derek. A man who had nothing and still gave everything. A man who was tired and broken and barely surviving, but still somehow managed to be kind. Victoria felt something shift inside her chest, something she'd thought was dead. It felt dangerously like hope. The next morning, Victoria woke to the smell of cooking. She opened her eyes to find Derek at the hot plate making pancakes. Lily was already up, sitting at the tiny table, kicking her legs and chattering about a dream she'd had. "And then the dinosaur was in our living room, but he was nice and he let me ride on his back and we went to the moon." "Sounds like quite an adventure," Derek said, flipping a pancake with practiced ease. "It was, but I was sad when I woke up because the dinosaur was gone. Maybe he'll come back tonight." "You think so? Dinosaurs always come back for their friends." Victoria watched them from the bed, something aching in her chest. This was what family looked like. Not the cold, formal dinners she'd grown up with. Not the silent breakfasts where no one spoke except to criticize. This was warmth. This was love. This was real. "You're awake." Derek noticed her. "Hungry. Starving. Good." He slid a plate across the table. Lily made the batter, I just cooked them. I did, Lily said proudly. I cracked the eggs and everything. Only one got shell in it, but Daddy fished it out. Victoria sat down at the table. She picked up her fork and took a bite of the pancake. It was slightly lopsided, a little too brown on one side. It was the most delicious thing she'd ever tasted. These are amazing, she said. Lily beamed. I told you, Daddy, my pancakes are the best. Derek smiled at his daughter, a soft, genuine smile that transformed his tired face. And Victoria felt something crack inside her. Something she'd spent 26 years building. A wall to protect herself from hoping for things she could never have. Now sitting in this tiny kitchen eating lopsided pancakes with a man and his daughter, that wall began to crumble. And for the first time in her life, Victoria Blackwell wasn't sure if she wanted to stop it. The first week nearly broke her. Victoria had never cooked a meal in her life. She didn't know how to boil water properly. She didn't know that rice needed to be rinsed before cooking. She didn't know that oil could catch fire if you left it too long on the heat. On the second day, she tried to make breakfast for Derek and Lily. She burned the eggs. Smoke filled the apartment. The fire alarm screamed. Lily ran out crying. Derek came rushing from the bathroom, half-dressed, panic on his face. What happened? Are you okay? Is anyone hurt? Victoria stood in the middle of the chaos, holding a blackened pan, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to help. Derek took the pan from her hands. He looked at the ruined eggs. He looked at the smoke still swirling toward the ceiling. He looked at Victoria's devastated expression, and then he laughed. Not a mocking laugh, not a cruel laugh, a warm, genuine laugh that made the tension drain from the room. It's just eggs, he said. We'll make more. But I ruined them. So I burned dinner 6 times last month. Lily still ate it. He grinned. She said it was crunchy style. Lily peeked back into the apartment, her face still wet with tears. Daddy, is the fire gone? Yeah, sweetheart. False alarm. Victoria was just experimenting. With fire. With breakfast. Lily wrinkled her nose. Maybe she should practice first. Victoria let out a shaky laugh. Maybe I should. Derek grabbed his jacket. Tell you what, I'll pick up donuts on my way to work. Tomorrow I'll teach you how to make eggs without burning down the building. You do that. He paused at the door. We're married now, remember? For better or worse. And worse apparently includes your cooking. Victoria threw a dish towel at him. He caught it grinning and disappeared out the door. For a moment, Victoria just stood there, staring at the closed door, feeling something warm spread through her chest. No one had ever teased her before. No one had ever made her feel like her mistakes were okay. No one had ever looked at her failures and laughed with her instead of at her. Victoria. She turned. Lily was standing beside her, holding her stuffed rabbit. Yeah. Daddy's not mad. He never gets mad about stuff like that. Lily reached out and took Victoria's hand. He only gets mad when people are mean. And you're not mean. You're just bad at cooking. Victoria knelt down and pulled the little girl into a hug. Thank you, Lily. You're welcome. Lily patted her back solemnly. Don't worry, I'll teach you. I'm a really good teacher. I taught Daddy how to braid hair, and he was really bad at first, but now he's only a little bad. Victoria laughed through her tears. Maybe she could do this. Maybe she could learn. The third day was worse. Victoria decided to do laundry. How hard could it be? You put clothes in a machine. You add soap. You press a button. She didn't know there was a difference between dish soap and laundry detergent. She didn't know that dish soap created mountains of bubbles. She didn't know that those bubbles would overflow from the machine, flood the laundromat below, and send Mr. Wong into a screaming rage. What is wrong with you? Mr. Wong shouted ankle deep in suds. "Are you stupid? Are you trying to destroy my business?" Victoria stood frozen on the stairs, watching the disaster unfold. "I'm sorry, I didn't know. You didn't know. You didn't know dish soap isn't for washing machines. What kind of idiot doesn't know that?" Derek appeared behind her. He'd just come home from his morning shift, exhausted, ready to collapse. Instead, he found his landlord screaming at his wife and bubbles pouring out of the laundromat like a foam party gone wrong. He took one look at the situation and stepped in front of Victoria. "Mr. Wong, I'll clean it up. You'll pay for it. The damage, the lost business, all of it. Fine. Take it out of next month's rent. That's not enough. This is Mr. Wong." Derek's voice went quiet, steady. "I said I'll handle it. Now please stop yelling at my wife." Mr. Wong's mouth snapped shut. He looked at Derek, looked at Victoria hiding behind him, looked at the bubbles still spreading across his floor. "Fine," he spat, "but this better not happen again." He stormed off, muttering in Cantonese about crazy rich girls and soft-headed husbands. Derek turned to Victoria. She was crying. Again. "I'm useless," she said. "I can't do anything. I can't cook, I can't clean, I can't even do laundry without causing a flood. What's wrong with me?" Derek sighed. He reached out and wiped a tear from her cheek. "Nothing's wrong with you. You just never had to learn this stuff before. I'm 26 years old and I don't know how to wash clothes. That's pathetic." "It's not pathetic, it's just different." He paused. "When I was 26, I didn't know how to change a diaper. Lily was 3 months old and I put it on backwards. She peed all over me, twice." Victoria sniffled. "Really? Really? And the first time I tried to give her a bath, I forgot to check the water temperature. She screamed so loud the neighbors called the police." "That's terrible." "It was." Derek shrugged. "But I learned. And you will too." He grabbed a mop and handed it to her. "Come on, let's clean up this mess together." Victoria stared at the mop like it was a foreign object. "I don't know how to mop either." Derek laughed. "Then I'll teach you. One disaster at a time." The neighbors started talking on the 4th day. Victoria heard them whispering in the hallway, saw them pointing when she walked by, felt their eyes burning into her back like hot coals. "That's her, the rich girl. I heard she's paying him, like a, you know." Disgusting, a man his age selling himself like that. And with a daughter, too. What kind of example is he setting? Victoria tried to ignore it. She kept her head down, walked faster, pretended she didn't hear, but the words followed her everywhere. On the 5th day, Mrs. Patterson from apartment 4B knocked on the door. She was a heavy woman with a permanent scowl and a voice like grinding gravel. She pushed past Victoria without being invited and looked around the tiny apartment with obvious disgust. "So," Mrs. Patterson said, "you're the one." Victoria stood stiffly by the door. "Excuse me. Don't play innocent with me, girl. Everyone knows what you are." Mrs. Patterson's eyes narrowed. "A rich princess playing house with a poor man. What's the matter, Daddy's money not enough excitement for you? Had to go slumming for thrills." "That's not..." "Save it. I've seen your type before. You'll get bored in a month. You'll run back to your mansion and your fancy cars and your servants. And Derek will be left here picking up the pieces again." Victoria's hands clenched at her sides. "You don't know anything about me." "I know enough. I know you don't belong here. I know you're using him. And I know that little girl is going to get hurt when you leave." Mrs. Patterson stepped closer, her breath hot on Victoria's face. "So why don't you do everyone a favor and go back where you came from?" Before Victoria could respond, the door opened. Derek walked in. Lily on his hip. He took one look at Mrs. Patterson's aggressive stance. Victoria's pale face and his expression went cold. What's going on here? Mrs. Patterson smiled sweetly. Just welcoming your new wife to the building, Derek. Giving her some friendly advice. Get out. The smile faltered. Excuse me. I said get out. Derek's voice was ice. And if I ever hear you talking to my wife like that again, we're going to have a problem. Do you understand? Mrs. Patterson's face flushed with anger. You're defending her, this gold digger who's probably paying you to out. The word echoed off the walls. Mrs. Patterson jumped. For a moment she looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Derek's eyes made her think twice. She pushed past him and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The apartment fell silent. Lily looked between Derek and Victoria with worried eyes. Daddy. Why was that lady yelling? She wasn't yelling, sweetheart, she was just leaving. Derek set Lily down gently. Why don't you go draw a picture? I need to talk to Victoria for a minute. Lily nodded solemnly and retreated to her corner of the room. Derek turned to Victoria. She was shaking, her arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold herself together. I'm sorry, she whispered. For what? For bringing this into your life, the gossip, the judgment, the... Stop. Derek crossed the room and took her hands. Listen to me. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they think. Those people don't know you. They don't know us. Their opinions don't matter. But they're right. Victoria's voice cracked. I don't belong here. I don't know how to do anything. I'm just making your life harder. You want to know what makes my life harder? Derek squeezed her hands. Working 3 jobs, worrying about rent, wondering if I'm going to be able to afford Lily's school supplies next month. That's hard. He paused. Having someone to come home to. Someone who's trying even when she fails, that's not hard. That's nice. Victoria looked up at him. Nice? Yeah. A small smile tugged at his lips. I haven't had nice in a long time. Something passed between them. A connection. An understanding. For a moment, Victoria forgot that this was fake. Forgot that it was just a contract. Forgot that in 1 year she was supposed to walk away and never look back. In that moment it felt real, and that terrified her. The 6th day brought an unexpected breakthrough. Victoria was sitting on the floor with Lily trying to fold laundry. She'd been at it for an hour. Her piles looked like crumpled disasters. Lily's piles were somehow perfect. You're doing it wrong, Lily said matter-of-factly. I'm trying. You have to fold the sleeves first, then the bottom, then in half. Lily demonstrated with a tiny t-shirt. See, like that. Victoria attempted to copy her. The result looked like a wadded-up napkin. Lily sighed dramatically. Okay, we need to start from the beginning. For the next 2 hours, a 6-year-old taught a 26-year-old how to fold laundry. By the end of it, Victoria could fold a t-shirt that actually looked like a t-shirt. I did it. She held up her creation proudly. Look, Lily, I actually did it. Lily inspected the shirt critically. It's okay. A little crooked, but okay. Victoria laughed and pulled the girl into a hug. You're the best teacher I've ever had. I know. Lily hugged her back. Daddy says I'm very smart for my age. Your daddy's right. When Derek came home that night, he found a basket of neatly folded laundry sitting on the table. He stared at it for a full 30 seconds. Did you do this? Victoria tried to look casual. Lily helped. I taught her everything, Lily announced proudly. She was really bad at first, but she got better. Derek picked up a folded shirt, turned it over. Looked at Victoria with something like wonder in his eyes. This is actually good. Don't sound so surprised. I'm not surprised, He paused, searching for the right word. Impressed. Victoria felt warmth bloom in her chest. Yeah. He smiled at her, a real smile. the kind that reached his eyes. You're learning. That night, Derek showed Victoria how to fix the window latch. It was a simple repair, just some wire and patience. But Victoria watched his hands work like it was the most fascinating thing she'd ever seen. You know how to fix everything, she said. Not everything, just the stuff I can't afford to pay someone else to fix. He twisted the wire tight. When you're broke, you learn to be handy. I never learned anything useful. My father thought practical skills were beneath us. She paused. He used to say, "We pay people to solve problems, Victoria. We don't solve them ourselves." That's a sad way to live. I'm starting to realize that. Derek finished the repair and tested the window. It closed smoothly for the first time in months. There, he said. Good as new. Victoria reached out and touched the latch. Such a small thing, but it meant something. Can you teach me? She asked quietly. Teach you what? Everything. How to fix things. How to cook. How to... She struggled to find the words. How to be useful. Derek studied her face for a long moment. You really want to learn more than anything. Okay. He nodded slowly. We'll start tomorrow, but I'm warning you, I'm a tough teacher. Tougher than Lily? Derek laughed. Nobody's tougher than Lily. On the 7th day, Victoria made rice. Perfect rice. No burning, no sticking, no disasters. She stood over the pot, staring at the fluffy white grains like she'd just performed a miracle. I did it, she breathed. Derek, Lily, come look. They gathered around the pot, peering inside. It's rice, Lily said. It's perfect rice. I made perfect rice. Victoria was grinning so hard her face hurt. Do you understand? I've never made anything in my entire life, and now I made rice, perfect rice. Derek put his hand on her shoulder. I'm proud of you. 3 words, simple words, but they hit Victoria like a thunderbolt. She couldn't remember the last time someone had said those words to her. Not her father, not her so-called friends, not anyone. I'm proud of you. She turned away quickly, blinking back tears. It's just rice, she muttered. No. Derek's voice was gentle. It's not just rice. It's progress, and progress always matters. That night, Victoria couldn't sleep. She lay in the bed next to Lily, listening to the little girl's soft breathing, thinking about everything that had happened in the past week. She'd failed more times than she could count. She'd been insulted, judged, humiliated. She'd cried more tears than she'd cried in the past 5 years combined. But she'd also learned. She'd learned to fold laundry, to fix a window, to make rice. Small things, stupid things, things that most people took for granted. But to Victoria, they felt like revolutions. She turned her head and looked at Derek asleep on the floor. He was curled up on the thin rug, using his jacket as a blanket because he'd given the only real blanket to her and Lily. This man who had nothing gave everything, and Victoria, who had everything, had never given anything to anyone. Until now. Quietly, carefully, she slipped out of bed. She took the blanket from her side and draped it over Derek's sleeping form. He stirred slightly but didn't wake. Victoria stood there for a long moment watching him sleep. Something was happening to her. Something she didn't understand. Something she wasn't sure she wanted to understand. But she couldn't stop it, and she wasn't sure she wanted to. The second week started with a phone call. Victoria was alone in the apartment, Derek at work, Lily at school, when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Victoria. Her blood went cold. She knew that voice. Smooth, charming, dangerous. Marcus Sterling. How did you get this number? I have resources. Surely you know that by now. His tone was pleasant, conversational, like they were old friends catching up. I hear you've been playing house with a delivery driver. How? quaint. What do you want, Marcus? I want to know what you're doing, Victoria. This little rebellion of yours, is it really worth throwing away everything? Your family, your future, your place in society. I don't want a place in your society. Marcus laughed softly. You don't mean that. You've been raised for this life, groomed for it. Do you really think you can be happy in a 500-square-foot apartment eating cheap food, wearing thrift store clothes? I'm happier than I've ever been. For now. His voice dropped lower, more intimate, more threatening. But happiness fades, Victoria. Reality sets in, and when it does, when you realize what you've given up, you'll come crawling back. They always do. Victoria's hand tightened on the phone. Is that a threat? It's a promise. I don't lose, Victoria. I never lose. And I certainly don't lose to some nobody delivery driver who thinks he can steal what's mine. I'm not yours. I was never yours. We'll see about that. The line went dead. Victoria stood frozen, her heart pounding. Marcus Sterling didn't make empty threats. If he said he was coming for her, he meant it. And Derek had no idea what kind of enemy he'd made. She didn't tell Derek about the call. She told herself it was because she didn't want to worry him, didn't want to add more stress to his already overwhelming life. But deep down she knew the real reason. She was ashamed that her old life was poisoning her new one, ashamed that Marcus Sterling, a man she despised, still had power over her, ashamed that she might be putting Derek and Lily in danger just by being here. So she buried it, locked it away, pretended everything was fine. But the fear followed her like a shadow. 3 days later, Derek came home early from his security job. His face was pale, his jaw tight. What's wrong? Victoria asked immediately. Nothing. Derek! He hesitated. Then, I got called into my supervisor's office today. Someone filed a complaint against me. What kind of complaint? Anonymous. Said I was stealing from the warehouse. Said they had evidence. His voice was bitter. There is no evidence. Because I never stole anything, but they're investigating anyway. Victoria's stomach dropped. Marcus. This had Marcus written all over it. Derek, I need to tell you something. Wait. He held up his hand. There's more. Mr. Wong came by my work today, said he's raising our rent, 50% increase starting next month. 50%, that's impossible. I know. Derek sank onto the bed, his head in his hands. I can't afford it. Even with 3 jobs, I can't afford it. Victoria sat beside him. Her mind was racing. This wasn't coincidence. This was coordinated. Marcus was making his move. We'll figure it out, she said. How I'm already working every hour I can. There's nothing left to give. The 100,000? No. Derek's head snapped up. That money is for you, for your freedom. I'm not touching it. But, no, Victoria, I mean it. His eyes were fierce. I didn't do this for money. I'm not going to start taking it now. You're being stubborn. I'm being honest. There's a difference. They stared at each other. 2 proud people, 2 stubborn people, both refusing to give ground. Finally, Victoria spoke. Marcus called me. Derek went very still. What? 3 days ago. He threatened me. Threatened us. She swallowed hard. I think he's behind all of this. The complaint at your job, the rent increase. He's trying to break us. Why didn't you tell me? I was scared. I thought I could handle it. I thought. Her voice cracked. I didn't want to bring my problems into your life. Your problems are my problems now. Derek took her hands. That's what this is. That's what marriage means, even a fake one. Tears spilled down Victoria's cheeks. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. No, it's Marcus Sterling's fault. Derek's jaw tightened. And he's going to regret picking this fight. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. Derek squeezed her hands. But I'm not going to let him win. I'm not going to let him take this from us. Take what? Derek was quiet for a moment. Then, whatever this is, whatever we're building, it matters to me. More than I expected it to. Victoria's heart stuttered. Derek, I know it's just a contract. I know it's supposed to be temporary, but Lily loves you, and I... He stopped, swallowed. I'm glad you're here, that's all I'm saying. It wasn't a declaration of love. It wasn't a promise of forever. But it was something. And for now, something was enough. That night, Victoria made a decision. She waited until Derek was asleep, until Lily was dreaming, until the apartment was quiet. Then she picked up her phone and made a call. Father? A long pause. Victoria? Richard Blackwell's voice was cold, controlled. I wondered when you'd call. I need your help. Interesting. You leave my house. You marry a stranger. You humiliate me in front of everyone who matters, and now you need my help. Marcus Sterling is harassing us. He's trying to destroy Derek's life. I'm aware of what Marcus is doing. Victoria's blood chilled. You know, of course I know everything that happens in this city. A pause. The question is, why should I stop him? Because I'm your daughter. Are you? Because the daughter I raised would never lower herself to live in a slum with a delivery driver. Richard's voice hardened. You made your choice, Victoria. Now live with the consequences. Father, please. Come home. End this ridiculous marriage. Marry Marcus like you were supposed to, and I'll make all your problems disappear. Victoria closed her eyes. There it was. The offer. The easy way out. All she had to do was give up, surrender, go back to being the obedient daughter. The trophy wife. The prisoner in a golden cage. All she had to do was abandon Derek and Lily. No. The word came out stronger than she expected. Excuse me. I said no, Father. I'm not coming back. I'm not marrying Marcus, and I'm not abandoning the only people who've ever treated me like a human being. Silence. Long, dangerous silence. You'll regret this, Richard said finally. Maybe, but at least it'll be my choice. Victoria took a breath. Goodbye, Father. She hung up. Her hands were shaking, her heart was pounding. But for the first time in her life, she felt free, really free, and she wasn't going to let anyone take that away. Derek found her the next morning asleep at the table, her phone clutched in her hand. He didn't wake her. Instead, he made breakfast, got Lily ready for school, covered Victoria with a blanket, and before he left for work, he pressed a gentle kiss to the top of her head. We're going to be okay, he whispered. Victoria stirred but didn't wake. She dreamed of houses with big yards, of children laughing, of a man with tired eyes and gentle hands. She dreamed of a life she'd never thought she could have. And somewhere deep in her heart, she started to believe it might be possible. Victoria woke to an empty apartment. Derek was already gone. Lily was at school. The blanket draped over her shoulders told her everything she needed to know about the man she'd married. She sat up slowly, her neck stiff from sleeping at the table, and looked around the tiny room. 400 square feet. A month ago, this space would have felt like a prison. Now it felt like home. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She opened it. 3 words, clock is ticking. Victoria's hands trembled. She deleted the message. Then she stood up, squared her shoulders, and made a decision. Marcus Sterling wanted a war. She was going to give him one. Derek came home that afternoon with news. The investigation cleared me, he said, collapsing onto a chair. My supervisor reviewed the security footage, proved I never stole anything. The complaint was completely fabricated. Victoria exhaled with relief. That's wonderful. It is. But they're still watching me now. One more complaint, real or fake, and I'm out. He rubbed his face with both hands. I can't lose that job. It pays for half our groceries. You won't lose it. You don't know that. I know you. Victoria sat across from him. You're the most honest person I've ever met. They'll see that. Derek looked at her. Really looked. You believe that? I believe in you. Yes. Something shifted in his expression. Something soft, vulnerable. Nobody said that to me in a long time. Then people haven't been paying attention. They sat in silence for a moment, not uncomfortable, just present. Then Derek's phone rang. He glanced at the screen. His face went pale. What is it? Victoria asked. Lily's school. He answered immediately. Hello? Yes, this is Derek Chen. What happened? Victoria watched his expression transform. Confusion, anger, fear. I'll be right there. He hung up and grabbed his jacket. Derek, what's wrong? Someone tried to pick up Lily from school, said they were her uncle. His voice was shaking. Lily doesn't have an uncle. Victoria's blood turned to ice. Marcus. They ran. The school was only 6 blocks away, but it felt like miles. Victoria's lungs burned, her legs ached. But she didn't slow down. Neither did Derek. When they burst through the front doors, the principal was waiting. Mr. Chen, your daughter is safe. She's in my office. Where is he? Derek's voice was barely controlled. The man who tried to take her. He left when we asked for identification. We've already called the police. Derek pushed past her and ran down the hallway. Victoria followed. Lily was sitting on a chair in the principal's office, her legs swinging, her stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. When she saw Derek, her face crumpled. Daddy! He scooped her up and held her tight. I'm here, sweetheart. I'm here. Are you okay? Did he hurt you? No. He just said he was Uncle Marcus and that he was supposed to take me to get ice cream. Lily sniffled. But I don't have an Uncle Marcus, so I told the teacher. And she got mad at him. Uncle Marcus. Victoria felt sick. Derek's eyes met hers over Lily's head. She saw the rage there, the barely contained fury. Marcus Sterling had crossed the line. And there was no going back. The police came. They took statements. They promised to investigate, but Victoria knew it wouldn't matter. Marcus was too rich, too powerful, too connected. He'd walk away clean. He always did. That night, Derek put Lily to bed early. He sang her favorite song, something about butterflies and rainbows, until her eyes closed and her breathing slowed. Then he stepped out onto the fire escape. Victoria followed. Derek, don't. His voice was raw. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me it's going to be okay. He tried to take my daughter. He tried to take Lily. I know. I want to kill him. The words came out broken. I've never wanted to hurt anyone in my life. But right now I want to find Marcus Sterling and make him pay for what he did. I know. This is because of me. Derek turned to face her. His eyes were wet. I agreed to this marriage. I put a target on my daughter's back. This is my fault. No. Victoria stepped closer. This is my fault. Marcus is doing this because of me, because I rejected him, because I chose you. You didn't choose me. You chose freedom. I chose you. The words came out before she could stop them. I could have asked anyone, I could have hired someone, but I asked you. Because when I looked at you tired and soaked and barely holding on, I saw someone real, someone good, someone worth trusting. Derek stared at her. I didn't know it would lead to this, Victoria continued. I didn't know Marcus would go this far, but I don't regret it. I don't regret choosing you. Victoria, let me finish. She took a breath. I know this was supposed to be fake. A business arrangement. A contract, but it doesn't feel fake anymore, not to me. What are you saying? I'm saying, she struggled to find the words. I'm saying I care about you. About Lily, about this ridiculous little apartment and the burnt eggs and the laundry lessons and all of it. I care about this life we're building and I don't want to lose it. Derek was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached out and took her hand. I don't want to lose it either. They stood there on the fire escape, hands intertwined, the city lights glittering below them. Two broken people, holding on to each other, refusing to let go. The next morning, Victoria made a phone call. Not to her father, not to the police, to a lawyer, a real lawyer, one she'd known since college, one who owed her a favor. Emily, it's Victoria Blackwell. Victoria, oh my God, I heard you disappeared. Everyone's been talking about it. I need your help. Anything, what do you need? I need everything you can find on Marcus Sterling, every lawsuit, every settlement, every complaint that was buried, everything. A pause. Victoria, what are you planning? I'm planning to fight back. 2 days later, Emily called back. You were right, she said. Marcus Sterling is dirty, really dirty. Victoria's heart pounded. What did you find? 3 sexual harassment lawsuits, all settled out of court, all with NDAs attached. Emily's voice dropped. But that's not the worst part. What's the worst part? His last assistant, a woman named Sarah Chen. She filed a complaint 6 months ago, said Marcus was stalking her, showing up at her apartment, following her to work, sending threatening messages. What happened to her? She disappeared, dropped the complaint, moved out of the city. Emily paused. Victoria, this guy is dangerous, like really dangerous. Are you sure you want to go after him? He tried to kidnap my stepdaughter. Wait, what, stepdaughter? It's a long story. Can you send me everything? Yeah. I'll send it tonight. Another pause. Victoria, be careful. Men like Marcus Sterling don't like being exposed. If you go public with this, he'll come after you with everything he has. Let him. Victoria hung up. Her hands were steady. Her resolve was iron. Marcus Sterling had made a mistake. He'd underestimated her. And he was about to find out exactly what Victoria Blackwell was capable of. Derek noticed the change in her. You're planning something, he said that evening. Victoria looked up from her laptop. What makes you say that? You've been on that computer for 6 hours, you've barely eaten, and you've got that look in your eyes. What look? The same look you had the night you proposed to me. Derek sat down beside her. The look of someone about to do something crazy. Victoria smiled. Maybe I am. Want to tell me about it? She turned the laptop toward him. Derek read the documents. His expression shifted from confusion to shock to something like awe. This is everything. Every dirty secret Marcus Sterling has ever buried. Emily found it all. Court records, police reports, witness statements. Victoria's voice was hard. He's been doing this for years, harassing women, threatening them, making them disappear when they fight back. And you're going to expose him. I'm going to destroy him. Derek looked at her. If you do this, there's no going back. Your father will disown you completely. The Sterlings will come after us with everything they have. Our lives will become a nightmare. Our lives are already a nightmare. At least this way we're fighting back. Victoria. He tried to take Lily. Her voice cracked. He put his hands on me. He threatened you. He's been terrorizing women for years and getting away with it because he's rich and powerful and nobody has the courage to stop him. She paused. Well, I have the courage, and I'm not going to let him hurt anyone else. Derek was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Okay. If you're going to war, I'm going with you. He took her hand. We're partners, remember, for better or worse. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. Derek squeezed her hand. Because you're not just my wife on paper anymore, you're family. And family protects each other. Family. The word hit Victoria like a wave. She'd never really had a family, not a real one. Her mother died when she was 12. Her father saw her as an asset, not a daughter. Her so-called friends were just social climbers waiting for her to fall. But Derek and Lily, they were real. They were hers, and she would burn down the world to protect them. The story broke 3 days later. Victoria sent the documents to every major news outlet in Seattle, every newspaper, every TV station, every online publication. By noon, Marcus Sterling's face was everywhere. Tech Air accused of serial harassment. Sterling Industries faces boycott calls. Multiple women come forward with shocking allegations. Victoria watched the coverage from the apartment, her phone buzzing non-stop with notifications. Derek sat beside her, holding Lily on his lap. "You did it," he said quietly. "We did it. No, this was you." He looked at her with something like wonder. "You took down one of the most powerful men in the city. You stood up when no one else would." "I had something worth fighting for." Lily looked up from her coloring book. "What are you guys talking about? Grown-up stuff, sweetheart. Is the bad man going away?" Derek and Victoria exchanged a look. "Yes, baby," Victoria said. "The bad man is going away." Lily nodded solemnly. "Good. I didn't like him." Neither did we. The fallout was immediate. Marcus Sterling's lawyers issued a statement denying everything. The Sterling family announced they were reviewing the allegations. Several board members resigned, stock prices plummeted, and then 3 days after the story broke, the first domino fell. Sarah Chen came forward, the assistant who had disappeared, the one everyone thought Marcus had silenced forever. She held a press conference, stood in front of cameras, told her story. "I was afraid," she said, her voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks. "I was afraid no one would believe me. I was afraid he would destroy my life. But then I saw Victoria Blackwell's courage. I saw her stand up to someone everyone said was untouchable. And I realized I wasn't alone anymore." 3 more women came forward that week, then 5 more, then 12. By the end of the month, Marcus Sterling was facing 17 harassment lawsuits and a federal investigation. His engagement to Victoria was officially canceled. His family's company was in freefall, and Victoria Blackwell, the CEO's daughter who ran away to marry a delivery driver, was being called a hero. But Victoria didn't feel like a hero. She felt exhausted, drained, like she'd been running a marathon and had only just crossed the finish line. "You should sleep," Derek said one night, finding her still awake at 2 a.m. "I can't." "Why not?" "Because every time I close my eyes, I see his face." Victoria hugged her knees to her chest. "Marcus," standing outside the school, trying to take Lily. "I keep thinking, what if we'd been 5 minutes later? What if the teacher hadn't noticed? What if—" "Hey." Derek sat beside her and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "Don't do that to yourself. She's safe. We're safe. You made sure of it." "Did I? Or did I just make things worse?" "Victoria, my father hasn't spoken to me in weeks. The Sterling family has filed a defamation lawsuit. Half the city thinks I'm a hero and the other half thinks I'm a liar." Her voice broke. "I thought exposing Marcus would fix everything. But now I'm not sure anything will ever be normal again." Derek pulled her closer. "Do you want normal?" The question caught her off guard. "What do you want normal?" "The life you had before the galas and the fancy dinners and the people who smiled to your face and stabbed you in the back." He paused. "Is that the normal you want to go back to?" Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Then no. "Then stop mourning it. Stop wishing things were different." Derek turned her face toward him. This life, this messy, chaotic, terrifying life, it's ours. We built it together. And yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's scary, but it's real. It's the most real thing either of us has ever had. Victoria stared at him. When did you get so wise? I'm not wise, I'm just tired. He smiled slightly. Tired people don't have the energy to lie, remember? Victoria laughed. A real laugh. The first one in weeks. I remember. Good. Derek stood and offered her his hand. Now come to bed. Tomorrow's going to be another crazy day and you need rest. Is that an order? It's a request from your husband. Victoria took his hand and let him pull her to her feet. Fine, but only because you asked nicely. I always ask nicely. Liar. They smiled at each other in the darkness, and for a moment everything felt okay. 2 weeks later, something unexpected happened. Victoria was picking Lily up from school when a woman approached her. Middle-aged, well-dressed, familiar face. It took Victoria a moment to place her. Mrs. Patterson, the neighbor who had called her a gold digger, who had accused Derek of selling himself, who had made Lily cry. Victoria tensed, preparing for another confrontation. But Mrs. Patterson didn't attack. She apologized. I was wrong about you, she said, her voice stiff with discomfort. I saw the news, what you did, the women you helped. She paused. I judged you without knowing your story, and I'm sorry. Victoria didn't know what to say. I've been watching you, Mrs. Patterson continued. These past weeks, the way you take care of that little girl, the way you look at Derek, the way you've changed since you moved in. She shook her head. You're not a gold digger. You're not playing games. You actually love them. Victoria's throat tightened. I do. Then I'm sorry for what I said, and I hope you can forgive an old woman for being foolish. Victoria considered her for a long moment. Then she extended her hand. Clean slate. Mrs. Patterson took it, relief flooding her face. Clean slate. She walked away and Victoria stood there stunned. Lily tugged on her sleeve. Was that the mean lady? She's not mean anymore, sweetheart. How come? Victoria knelt down to Lily's level. Because sometimes people change. Sometimes they realize they were wrong and they try to do better. Oh, Lily considered this. Like when I said I hated broccoli, but then I tried it and it was actually okay. Victoria laughed. Exactly like that. Good. Lily took her hand. Can we get ice cream now? Absolutely. They walked home together hand in hand, the afternoon sun warm on their faces. And Victoria realized something. She was happy. Not the fake happiness she'd performed her entire life. Not the brittle smile she wore at galas and business dinners. Real happiness. The kind that came from being loved, from being needed, from belonging somewhere. She had a family now, a real family. And nothing, not Marcus Sterling, not her father, not the whole world was going to take that away from her. Derek proposed on a Tuesday, not with a ring, he couldn't afford one, not with flowers, they were too expensive. He proposed with a question. They were sitting on the fire escape watching the sunset, Lily already asleep inside. Victoria. Yeah, the contract ends in 3 months. Her heart clenched. I know. When it ends, what happens? What do you want to happen? Derek was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to face her. I want you to stay. Victoria's breath caught. Not because of the contract, not because of the money, not because of any of that. He took her hands. I want you to stay because this apartment feels empty when you're not here. Because Lily asks for you every morning before she asks for breakfast. Because I've spent 3 years thinking I'd never feel this way again. And then you showed up in my life like a hurricane and changed everything. Derek, I'm not asking you to love me. I know that's not part of the deal, but I'm asking you to stay, to be part of this family, to let us be part of yours." He paused. Is that too much to ask?" Victoria stared at him. This man, this exhausted, overworked, underpaid man, this father who gave up his bed for his daughter, this husband who never once made her feel like a burden, he was asking her to stay, and she realized with a clarity that took her breath away that she'd been waiting for him to ask. "It's not too much," she whispered. "No, no." She squeezed his hands. "Because I don't want to leave. I want to wake up in this tiny apartment every morning. I want to burn eggs with Lily and learn how to fix things with you. I want to be here, with you, with her, for real. For real, for real." Derek's face transformed, joy, relief, hope, all of it flooding his features at once. "I don't have a ring," he said. "I don't need one. I can't give you the life you used to have. I don't want that life." "Then what do you want?" Victoria smiled. "This, just this, you and Lily and this ridiculous little apartment. Even the broken heater, especially the broken heater." Derek laughed, and then slowly, carefully, like she was something precious, he pulled her into his arms. They held each other as the sun set over Seattle. Two broken people, finally whole. Inside the apartment, Lily stirred in her sleep and smiled. She was dreaming about butterflies and rainbows and a family that was finally complete. 3 months had passed since the scandal broke. Marcus Sterling was finished. The federal investigation had expanded. His assets were frozen. His family had publicly disowned him. Last anyone heard, he'd fled to Europe trying to escape the mountain of lawsuits burying him alive. Victoria should have felt triumphant. Instead, she felt hollow, because there was still one battle left to fight. Her father hadn't spoken to her in 4 months. Not a call, not a text, not a single word. The silence was deafening. "You should reach out to him," Derek said one evening. Victoria looked up from the dishes she was washing. "Why?" "Because he's your father, and whatever happened between you, that matters. He chose business over me. He chose Marcus Sterling over me. He made a mistake." "A mistake." Victoria's voice rose. "He tried to sell me like property. He ignored me for years. He treated me like an asset instead of a daughter. That's not a mistake. That's a choice." "I know." Derek dried a plate slowly. "But holding on to anger doesn't hurt him. It only hurts you. So I'm supposed to just forgive him." "I'm not saying that. I'm saying—" He paused, searching for words. "My ex-wife left me. Took everything. Said I wasn't worth loving. For 2 years I hated her. Every night I lay awake thinking about what I'd say if I saw her again. How I'd make her feel as small as she made me feel. What changed? Lily." Derek set down the plate. "One day she asked me why I looked so angry all the time. I realized I was carrying this poison inside me, and it was seeping into everything. My work, my relationships, my time with my daughter." He met Victoria's eyes. "So I let it go. Not for Caroline. For me. For Lily. For any chance I had at being happy again." Victoria was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know if I can do that." "You don't have to do it today or tomorrow or ever if that's what you choose." Derek reached out and took her hand. "But don't let Richard Blackwell live rent-free in your head. You've already won. Don't let him take that from you too." Victoria stared at their intertwined fingers. Derek was right. She knew he was right. But knowing something and feeling something were two very different things. The call came 2 weeks later. Victoria was walking Lily home from school when her phone rang. Private number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Victoria." Her heart stopped. That voice. "Father." "I need to see you." Richard Blackwell's voice was different, quieter, almost fragile. Please. Why should I? Because I'm dying. The world tilted. Victoria grabbed a lamppost to steady herself. Lily looked up at her with worried eyes. Victoria, are you okay? What did you say? Victoria whispered into the phone. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. The doctors give me 6 months. A pause. I know I don't deserve your time. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking anyway. Please, come see me, just once. Victoria couldn't breathe. When? Tomorrow. The house. I'll send a car. I don't need your car. Then come however you want. Just come. Another pause. Longer this time. Please, Victoria, I have things I need to say, things I should have said years ago. The line went dead. Victoria stood frozen on the sidewalk, her mind racing, her father dying, the man who had controlled her entire life, who had tried to sell her to the highest bidder, who had chosen money over love at every single turn, dying. Victoria. Lily tugged on her sleeve. Who was that? Victoria looked down at the little girl, her stepdaughter, her family. Someone I used to know, she said quietly. Are you sad? I don't know, sweetheart. I really don't know. Derek took the news in silence. He listened as Victoria explained the phone call, the cancer, the request. When she finished, he didn't speak for a long moment. What do you want to do? He finally asked. I don't know. Do you want to see him? I don't know. Do you want me to come with you? Victoria looked at him. Would you, if you need me to? I always need you. The words came out before she could stop them. I don't know if I can face him. After everything he did, everything he said. Then don't. But he's dying. That doesn't erase what he did. I know. Victoria pressed her hands to her face. But what if this is my only chance? What if he dies and I never get closure? What if I spend the rest of my life wondering what he wanted to say? Derek was quiet. Then, my father died when I was 19, heart attack, no warning. One day he was there, the next he was gone. Victoria lowered her hands. You never told me that. We weren't close, he worked all the time. Barely saw him growing up. But when he died, Derek's voice thickened. I had so many things I wanted to say to him, questions I wanted to ask, fights I wanted to have, and I never got the chance. Do you regret that? Every day. He looked at her. I'm not saying you should forgive Richard. I'm not saying you should make peace with him. But if you don't go, you might spend the rest of your life regretting it, and that's a heavy weight to carry. Victoria stared at the floor. Her father was a monster, but he was still her father, and he was dying. I'll go, she said quietly. Tomorrow, but I'm not going alone. I'll be right there with you. Promise. Derek took her hand. Promise. The Blackwell estate looked smaller than Victoria remembered. Or maybe she had just grown. She stood at the gates, Derek beside her, staring at the mansion where she'd spent 26 years of her life. It felt like a lifetime ago. You okay? Derek asked. No. Want to turn back? No. They walked up the driveway together. The butler opened the door before they reached it. Jenkins. He'd worked for the family for 30 years. His face was carefully neutral, but Victoria saw something in his eyes. Compassion. Miss Victoria, welcome home. This isn't my home anymore, Jenkins. Of course. He stepped aside. Your father is in the study. He's expecting you. Victoria's feet felt like lead as she walked through the marble hallways, past the paintings she'd memorized as a child, past the rooms where she'd played alone because her father was always working, past the ghost of the girl she used to be. The study door was open. Richard Blackwell sat in his wheelchair by the window. Victoria barely recognized him. The man she remembered was tall, imposing, larger than life. This man was shrunken, pale, His suit hung loose on his frame. His hands trembled as they rested on the armrests. He looked old, he looked fragile, he looked like he was already dying. "Victoria." His voice was barely above a whisper. "You came. I almost didn't. I know." His eyes moved to Derek. "You brought him." "His name is Derek. He's my husband, my real husband." Richard nodded slowly. "I know who he is. I've been watching." "Of course you have." A long silence stretched between them. Then Richard spoke. "Sit down, please, both of you." They sat. Derek's hand found Victoria's under the table. She held on like he was her lifeline. "I don't have much time," Richard said. "The doctors say I have 6 months, but I can feel it. It'll be less than that." He paused. "So I'm going to say what I should have said years ago, and I need you to listen. Can you do that?" Victoria's jaw tightened. "I can listen." "Good." Richard took a shaky breath. "When your mother died, something inside me died with her. She was everything to me. My compass, my conscience, my heart. And when she was gone, I didn't know how to be a father anymore. I only knew how to be a businessman." Victoria said nothing. "I told myself I was protecting you, preparing you for the real world, teaching you to be strong." Richard's voice cracked. "But I wasn't. I was hiding. From grief, from love, from the terrifying vulnerability of actually caring about someone. You had a funny way of showing it." "I know." Richard closed his eyes. "I know. And I'm sorry, those words are worthless coming from me. I know that too, but I need to say them anyway." He opened his eyes and looked directly at Victoria. "I'm sorry for trying to control your life. I'm sorry for arranging that marriage without your consent. I'm sorry for choosing business over you over and over again. I'm sorry for making you feel like you were an asset instead of a daughter." Tears streamed down Victoria's face. She didn't wipe them away. "I'm sorry for the bruises Marcus left on you. I didn't know. I should have known, but I didn't. Or maybe I did and I chose not to see." Richard's voice broke. "I failed you. In every way a father can fail a daughter, I failed you." "Then why?" Victoria's voice was raw. "Why are you telling me this now? Because you're dying? Because you want to clear your conscience before you go?" "No." Richard shook his head. "I'm telling you because I watched the news. I saw what you did. I saw you stand up to Marcus Sterling when everyone told you to stay quiet. I saw you protect those women. I saw you choose courage over comfort." He leaned forward in his wheelchair. "And I realized something. My daughter, the one I thought was weak, the one I thought needed my protection. She's the strongest person I've ever known. She didn't need me to make her strong. She already was. I was just too blind to see it." Victoria couldn't speak. "I have no right to ask for your forgiveness," Richard continued. "I have no right to ask for anything. But I want you to know I'm proud of you. Not because you took down Marcus, not because you made headlines, but because you chose love. You chose freedom. You chose to be happy even when I did everything in my power to stop you." He looked at Derek. "And you, the delivery driver I dismissed as nobody." Richard's eyes glistened. "You gave my daughter something I never could, a home, a family, a reason to smile." He paused. "Take care of her, please." "I will," Derek said quietly. "I always will." "I know," Richard nodded. "I know you will. I've been watching you for months. Every report said the same thing. You wake up early, you work hard, you take care of your daughter, you ask Victoria how her day was, you do everything I should have done." "That's not about being special. That's just about being decent." "No." Richard shook his head. "And it's more than that. It's about love. Real love. The kind I forgot how to give." The room fell silent. Victoria stared at her father, this broken, dying man, and felt something shift inside her chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, maybe not ever, but something, understanding perhaps, or the beginning of letting go. "I don't know if I can forgive you," she said finally. "I don't expect you to." "But She struggled to find the words. "I'm glad you said those things. I'm glad you told me the truth." "It's too little. Too late." "Maybe." Victoria squeezed Derek's hand. "But it's something. And something is better than nothing." Richard's face crumpled. For the first time in Victoria's memory, her father cried. Not the composed, dignified tears of a man in control. Real tears. Broken tears. The tears of someone who had finally stopped pretending. "I love you, Victoria," he whispered. "I've always loved you. I just didn't know how to show it." Victoria stood up. Her legs shook, her heart pounded. But she walked around the table, walked to her father's wheelchair, looked down at the man who had shaped her life in ways both terrible and profound. And then she did something she never expected to do. She hugged him. Richard sobbed against her shoulder, his frail arms wrapped around her like she was the only solid thing in a world that was falling apart. "I'm sorry," he kept saying. "I'm so sorry." "I know, Dad." The word felt strange on her tongue. She hadn't called him that in years. "I know." They stayed like that for a long time, father and daughter. Finally facing each other, finally being honest. Derek stood by the door watching in silence. When Victoria finally pulled back, her father's face was wet with tears. "I want to meet her," Richard said. "Your stepdaughter, Lily. I want to meet her before I go." Victoria hesitated. Lily was the most precious thing in her life. The thought of exposing her to Richard Blackwell, even this broken version of him, felt dangerous. But then she looked at her father's face, the desperation there, the longing, the genuine desire to do one thing right before the end. "I'll think about it," she said. "That's all I ask." They left the mansion an hour later. Victoria didn't look back. Derek held her hand all the way to the car. He didn't ask any questions, didn't offer any commentary, just held on. When they got in, Victoria finally spoke. "He's dying." "I know. I didn't know what to feel. I still don't." "That's okay." "Is it?" She turned to look at him. "He was a terrible father. He controlled my life. He tried to sell me to Marcus Sterling. And now he's dying and I feel sad. How is that okay?" "Because he's your father." Derek started the car. "Because love isn't logical. Because we can hate someone and love them at the same time. Because grief doesn't care about what makes sense." "I thought I'd feel relieved or vindicated or something." "What do you feel?" Victoria was quiet for a long moment. "Empty," she finally said. "Like there's this hole inside me that I didn't know was there, and now it's all I can feel." Derek reached over and took her hand. "That hole has always been there," he said gently. "You just learned to ignore it, to fill it with other things. But now you're letting yourself feel it. And that's painful, but it's also necessary. Will it ever stop hurting? I don't know. But you won't have to face it alone. I promise you that." Victoria leaned her head against his shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what? For being here. For being you. For not running away when you had every reason to. I'm not going anywhere. Ever." And Victoria believed him. For the first time in her life, she truly believed. They brought Lily to meet Richard a week later. Victoria had spent days agonizing over the decision. Derek had listened, supported, never pushed. In the end, it was Lily who made up her mind. "Is Victoria's daddy sick?" she'd asked one morning. "Yes, sweetheart, very sick." "Does he want to see her?" "He does." Lily nodded solemnly. "Then she should go. When people are sick, they need family. That's what you always say, Daddy." Victoria had looked at this 6-year-old girl, this wise, compassionate, incredible child, and felt her heart crack open. "Do you want to come with me?" she asked. Lily considered. "Will there be cookies?" "Probably." "Then yes." So they went. Richard Blackwell met them in the garden. He was weaker than before, confined to his wheelchair, an oxygen tank beside him. But when he saw Lily, his face transformed. "Hello," he said softly. "You must be Lily." Lily studied him with the frank assessment only children could manage. "You're Victoria's daddy." "I am." "You look tired." Richard laughed, actually laughed. "I am tired, very tired." "That's okay." Lily walked up to his wheelchair without an ounce of fear. "My daddy gets tired too. He works really hard, but Victoria makes him happy, so he's not as tired anymore." Richard's eyes glistened. "Is that so?" "Uh-huh. She's really nice. She burned the eggs at first, but now she makes them really good. And she taught me how to braid my hair fancy." "She sounds wonderful." "She is." Lily leaned closer conspiratorially. "Don't tell her I said this, but she's like a mom now. I didn't have a mom before, but now I do." Victoria's hand flew to her mouth. Derek's arm wrapped around her waist. Richard Blackwell looked at his daughter, really looked, and saw the life she had built, the family she had created, the happiness she had found. "I'm glad," he said, his voice thick. "I'm so glad she has you." "Me too," Lily smiled brightly. "Do you have cookies?" Richard laughed again, a sound Victoria hadn't heard in years. "I think we can arrange that." They stayed for 2 hours. Lily charmed everyone she met, the butler, the cook, even the stone-faced security guards cracked smiles when she asked them about their cool walkie-talkies. Richard watched it all with wonder. At one point, when Lily was off exploring the garden with Derek, Richard turned to Victoria. "She's remarkable." "I know. And Derek, he's a good man." "The best." Richard reached out and took Victoria's hand. His grip was weak, but his eyes were clear. "I want to do something for them. For you." "Dad, you don't have to." "I know I don't have to. I want to." He squeezed her fingers. "My lawyers have been updating my will. Everything goes to you. The company, the properties, all of it." "I don't want your money." "I know you don't. That's why I'm giving it to you." Richard smiled sadly. "Use it to build something good. A life for Lily, security for Derek, whatever you need. Consider it my apology. Made material." Victoria wanted to argue, wanted to refuse, but she looked at her father's face, the hope there, the desperate need to do something right. And she couldn't. "Okay," she said quietly. "Okay. Thank you." Richard closed his eyes. "Thank you for giving me this chance. I know I don't deserve it." "No, you don't." Victoria paused. "But I'm giving it to you anyway." "Why?" She thought about it, really thought. "Because holding on to hate is exhausting," she finally said. "Because Lily showed me that family means showing up even when it's hard, and because somewhere under all the mistakes and the control and the fear, you're still my dad, and I don't want the last thing between us to be anger." Richard's eyes opened. Tears streamed down his weathered cheeks. "I love you," he whispered. And Victoria, for the first time in 20 years, said it back. "I love you too, Dad." They drove home as the sun set over Seattle. Lily fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted from her adventure, clutching a cookie she'd refused to eat because she wanted to save it for later. Derek glanced at Victoria. "How are you feeling?" "Strange." She stared out the window. "Like something I've been carrying for years just lifted." "That's good." "Is it, I feel like I should still be angry, like forgiving him means what he did was okay? Forgiveness isn't about saying it was okay." Derek reached over and took her hand. It's about saying you're not going to let it control you anymore. There's a difference. Victoria considered this. When did you get so wise? I've been reading self-help books while you're asleep. She laughed. Seriously? No, Lily's been watching a lot of cartoons with morals at the end. Apparently they're educational. Victoria laughed harder. A real laugh. The kind that came from somewhere deep inside. Derek smiled at her. There she is. Who? The woman I married. His eyes were warm. The one who laughs like she means it. I've missed her. Victoria's heart swelled. She's been here all along, she said quietly. You just helped her come out of hiding. They held hands the rest of the way home. 3 weeks later, Richard Blackwell passed away. It happened peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by nurses who said he'd spent his last hours looking at photographs. Photographs of Victoria as a child, photographs of her mother, photographs of Lily, which Victoria had sent him the week before. The funeral was small, quiet, just the way Richard would have wanted. Victoria didn't cry. She'd done her crying already, made her peace, said goodbye, but as she stood by the grave watching the casket lower into the ground, she felt Derek's hand slip into hers, and Lily's hand slip into her other one, her family. Her real family. Are you okay? Derek asked quietly. Victoria looked at the grave, at the name carved in stone, at the end of an era. Then she looked at Derek, at Lily, at the future stretching out before them. Yeah, she said, I think I am. And for the first time in her life, she meant it. The lawyer's office was cold and formal. Victoria sat between Derek and Lily waiting for the reading of the will. She knew what was coming. Richard had told her. But hearing it made official felt different. The lawyer cleared his throat. To my daughter, Victoria Blackwell Chen. I leave the entirety of my estate. This includes Blackwell Real Estate Holdings, all properties, investments, and liquid assets totaling approximately $470 million. Derek choked. Victoria squeezed his hand. Additionally, the lawyer continued, I have established trust funds for Victoria's stepdaughter Lily Chen and any future children of the marriage. These trusts are to be managed by Victoria until the beneficiaries reach the age of 25. Lily tugged on Victoria's sleeve. What's a trust fund? I'll explain later, sweetheart. Is it a lot of money? Victoria looked at Derek. His face was pale with shock. Yes, she said. It's a lot of money. The lawyer finished reading. Documents were signed. Hands were shaken. And then they walked out of the office, newly wealthy beyond imagination. Derek stopped on the sidewalk. $470 million. Yes. Victoria, that's insane. I know. What are we going to do with $470 million? Victoria looked at him, at Lily, at the city sprawling around them. Whatever we want, she said. For the first time in my life, I get to decide what to do with my own money, my own life, my own future. And what do you want to do? Victoria smiled. I want to go home. The apartment? No. She took his hand. Wherever you and Lily are, that's home. Derek's face softened. Even if it's a 400-square-foot apartment above a laundromat, especially then. They walked to the car together hand in hand, a struggling single dad, a CEO's daughter, a 6-year-old girl, and $470 million that didn't matter nearly as much as the love between them. They didn't move out of the apartment right away. Victoria wanted to. Derek refused. We don't need a mansion, he said. We don't need fancy cars or servants or any of that. We have everything we need right here. Derek, we're sitting on $470 million. We can afford a bigger place. I know we can afford it. That's not the point. Then what is the point? Derek looked around the tiny apartment, the water-stained ceiling, The window he'd fixed with wire, the bed where Lily slept while he took the floor. "This place means something to me," he said quietly. "This is where I learned to be a father, where I raised Lily on my own, where I met you." He paused. "I don't want to forget what it feels like to have nothing, because that's when I learned what really matters." Victoria stared at him. This man, this impossible, stubborn, wonderful man. "You're serious?" "I'm always serious. We have almost $500 million and you want to stay in a 400-square-foot apartment. Not forever. Just for now. Until we figure out what we actually want, not what we think we should want." Victoria wanted to argue, wanted to point out how ridiculous this was, how they could give Lily a better life, how they didn't have to struggle anymore. But then she looked at Derek's face, the sincerity there, the wisdom, and she realized he was right. Money had never made her happy. The mansion hadn't been a home. The expensive clothes hadn't given her confidence. The fancy cars hadn't taken her anywhere worth going. But this apartment, this cramped, imperfect, beautiful apartment had given her everything. "Okay," she said. "Okay. Okay, we stay, for now." She smiled. "But I'm buying a new heater. The old one sounds like it's dying." Derek laughed. "Deal." 3 months passed. They settled into a rhythm. Derek quit 2 of his jobs, kept the delivery one because he said he liked the exercise. Victoria started volunteering at a women's shelter, helping survivors of domestic abuse rebuild their lives. The money sat in accounts, mostly untouched. They used some of it, of course. Paid off Derek's debts, set up Lily's education fund, donated to the shelter, fixed the building's heating system so everyone benefited, not just them. But they didn't change, not fundamentally. Derek still woke up early, still made breakfast, still asked Victoria how her day was every single night. Victoria still burned the occasional meal, still struggled with laundry sometimes. Still marveled at the simple joy of folding a fitted sheet correctly. Lily still drew pictures, still talked about dinosaurs, still asked for bedtime stories every night. They were still them. Just happier. The first sign of trouble came on a Tuesday. Victoria was walking home from the shelter when she noticed someone following her. A man, tall, wearing a dark coat, keeping his distance but definitely tracking her movements. Her heart rate spiked. Marcus Sterling was in Europe. The restraining order was still active. There was no reason to be afraid, but fear didn't listen to reason. She ducked into a coffee shop, pretended to browse the menu, watched the window. The man walked past without stopping. Just a coincidence, probably. She told herself it was nothing, told herself she was being paranoid, told herself the past was behind her, but that night she triple-checked the locks. And she didn't tell Derek. The second sign came a week later. A letter arrived at the apartment. No return address, just Victoria's name written in elegant script. She opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a single photograph. Her, walking Lily to school, taken from across the street. No message, no threat, just the photograph. Victoria's blood turned to ice. Someone was watching her. Someone was watching Lily. She crumpled the photograph in her fist. Her first instinct was to burn it, pretend it never existed, protect Derek and Lily from whatever darkness was circling them. But she'd learned her lesson about keeping secrets. She waited until Lily was asleep. Then she showed Derek. His face went white. "When did this come?" "Today." "Have you seen anyone following you?" Victoria hesitated. "Victoria, last week, a man. I thought I was imagining it." Derek's jaw tightened. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wasn't sure. Because I didn't want to worry you. Because you thought you could handle it alone." His voice was sharp, afraid. "Victoria, we talked about this. No more secrets, no more trying to protect me by keeping me in the dark. I know. I'm sorry. Sorry isn't good enough. He stood up and paced the small room. Someone is photographing our daughter. Someone knows where we live, where Lily goes to school, our entire routine. This isn't something you handle alone. I know. Victoria's voice cracked. I know. I thought it was over. Marcus is gone. My father is dead. I thought the threats were finally behind us. Maybe it's not about Marcus. Derek stopped pacing. Maybe it's about the money. Victoria's stomach dropped. The inheritance. $470 million, of course. I didn't think about that. People do terrible things for money, and now everyone knows you're Richard Blackwell's heir. Derek ran his hands through his hair. We need security, real security, not the kind we can handle ourselves. I don't want to live like that, surrounded by bodyguards looking over our shoulders constantly. Neither do I. But I want Lily safe more than I want to be comfortable. Victoria couldn't argue with that. The next morning they hired a security firm. Professional, discreet, expensive. Within 48 hours they had a team monitoring the apartment, the school, and Victoria's movements. Within 72 hours they had answers. Her name is Caroline Chen. The security chief, a former FBI agent named Marcus Webb, sat across from them in their tiny kitchen looking absurdly out of place in his expensive suit. Derek went rigid. What did you say about Caroline Chen, your ex-wife, Mr. Chen? Webb slid a photograph across the table. She's been surveilling your family for approximately 3 weeks. Victoria stared at the photograph. A woman, mid-30s. Sharp features, cold eyes. This was the woman who had abandoned Derek and Lily, the woman who had said he wasn't worth loving, the woman who had shattered his heart and walked away without looking back. Why? Derek's voice was barely a whisper. Why is she back? That's what we're trying to determine. She's been living in California for the past 2 years, recently moved back to Seattle. Webb paused. Around the same time, news of the Blackwell inheritance became public. Victoria's hands clenched. The money. Of course it was about the money. What does she want? She asked. We don't know yet. She hasn't made contact, hasn't filed any legal documents. She's just watching. Can we stop her? Legally, she hasn't done anything wrong. Following someone on public streets isn't a crime. Neither is taking photographs. Webb's expression was sympathetic but firm. Until she makes a move, our hands are tied. Derek stood up so fast his chair fell over. She abandoned Lily. She walked out on a 3-year-old and never looked back. She doesn't get to come back now and… Derek! Victoria caught his arm. Derek, breathe. Don't tell me to breathe. His voice was ragged. That woman destroyed me, destroyed us, and now she's circling like a vulture because she smells money. We don't know what she wants. I know exactly what she wants. Derek's eyes were blazing. She wants what she always wanted, more. She left because I couldn't give her the life she thought she deserved, and now that we have money, suddenly she's interested again. Victoria didn't know what to say, because he was probably right. Webb cleared his throat. I'd recommend increased security for your daughter. A escort to and from school. Someone monitoring the perimeter during class hours. Do it, Victoria said immediately. I'll have a team in place by tomorrow morning. After Webb left, Derek stood by the window staring out at nothing. Victoria approached him slowly. Talk to me. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything, just let me be here. She wrapped her arms around him from behind, felt his body trembling with barely contained emotion. I thought I was over it, he said quietly. I thought I'd moved on, made peace with what she did, but seeing her face again. He swallowed hard. It all came back. Every word she said, every door she slammed, the look in Lily's eyes when she asked why Mommy wasn't coming home. Victoria held him tighter. "She doesn't have any power here," she said. "Not anymore. Whatever she wants, whatever she's planning, we'll handle it together." "What if she wants Lily?" The question hung in the air like poison. "She won't get her." "You don't know that. She's Lily's biological mother. If she gets a lawyer, makes a custody claim. She abandoned Lily 3 years ago. She has no case. Courts have done stranger things." Victoria turned him around to face her. "Look at me," she said firmly. "Lily is ours, yours and mine. We've raised her, loved her, protected her. No judge in the world is going to take her away from the only parents she's ever really known. You promise?" "I promise." Derek's eyes searched her face, looking for doubt, finding none. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay. We're going to be okay. I know." He pulled her close. I need you to keep saying it. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay." She said it until her voice went hoarse, until Derek finally believed it, until they both did. The confrontation came sooner than expected. 3 days after Webb's revelation, Victoria was picking Lily up from school when she saw her. Caroline Chen, standing across the street, watching, not hiding anymore. Victoria's first instinct was to grab Lily and run. Her second instinct was stronger. She walked directly toward Caroline. "Victoria, wait!" The security escort tried to stop her. "Stay with Lily. Ma'am, stay with Lily." She crossed the street. Her heart pounded, her hands shook, but she didn't stop. Caroline watched her approach with an expression Victoria couldn't read. "You must be the new wife," Caroline said when Victoria reached her. "And you must be the woman who abandoned her family." Caroline's smile didn't waver. "Direct, I like that. What do you want?" "Just to see my daughter." "She's not your daughter, not anymore." Biology disagrees. Biology doesn't raise a child. Biology doesn't wake up at 3 a.m. when she has nightmares. Biology doesn't hold her when she cries or teach her to read or make her feel safe. Victoria stepped closer. "You gave up the right to call her your daughter the day you walked out." Caroline's smile flickered, just for a second. "You don't know anything about me." "I know enough. I know you left Derek because he wasn't rich enough. I know you told him he wasn't worth loving. I know you disappeared for 3 years and didn't send a single birthday card or Christmas gift or even a phone call. I had my reasons. I don't care about your reasons." "You should." Caroline's voice dropped. "Because I'm not going away." Victoria felt ice spread through her veins. "What do you want, money? Is that what this is about?" "Partially." "How much of 20 million? Victoria almost laughed. "You think you can blackmail us?" "I think I can make your lives very uncomfortable." Caroline's eyes glittered. "I'm Lily's mother. I have rights. I can file for custody. I can drag Derek through court. I can make sure every tabloid in the country knows about the CEO's daughter who stole a little girl from her real mother. That's not what happened. Doesn't matter. What matters is the story, and I tell a very good story." Caroline tilted her head. 20 million. That's nothing to you now. Pay it and I disappear forever. Fight me and I make the next 5 years of your life a living hell. Victoria's hands clenched at her sides. She wanted to scream, to grab this woman and shake her, to make her understand what she'd done not just to Derek but to Lily, to an innocent child who spent 2 years asking why Mommy didn't love her anymore. But she didn't, because she'd learned something over the past year. Anger was a weapon, but control was power. "No," Caroline blinked. "Excuse me. No, I'm not giving you $20 million. I'm not giving you 20 cents. Victoria's voice was steady, cold. "You want a fight, you'll get one. But I promise you I have more resources, better lawyers, and a hell of a lot more to lose than you do." So think very carefully before you take another step. Caroline's composure cracked. You don't know who you're dealing with. Neither do you. Victoria smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. I took down Marcus Sterling. I exposed one of the most powerful men in Seattle and watched his empire crumble. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? Caroline said nothing. Stay away from Lily. Stay away from Derek. Stay away from our family. Victoria turned to walk away, then paused. And Caroline, if I ever see you near my daughter again, I won't call lawyers. I'll call the police, and I'll make sure every news outlet in the country knows exactly what kind of mother abandons her child and then comes back to extort money. She walked away without looking back. Her hands didn't stop shaking until she reached Lily. That night, Victoria told Derek everything. She expected him to be angry, to be afraid, to want to pay Caroline off just to make her go away. Instead, he laughed. What's funny? You. Derek shook his head, grinning. You just threatened my ex-wife, told her you'd destroy her, walked away like an action movie hero. I was terrified the entire time. But you did it anyway. He pulled her close. That's what courage is, being terrified and doing it anyway. She might still try something. Let her. Derek's voice was firm. I spent 3 years being afraid of what she might do, wondering if she'd come back, worrying about how I'd protect Lily if she did. He paused. But I'm not afraid anymore, because I'm not alone anymore. Victoria's throat tightened. I'm never going to let her hurt you. Either of you. I know. Derek kissed her forehead. But you don't have to fight alone either. That's what marriage is. Real marriage. Facing things together. Even crazy ex-wives who want $20 million, especially those. They held each other in the darkness. Two broken people, stronger together than they'd ever been apart. Caroline made her move 2 weeks later. She filed for custody. The lawsuit claimed she'd been suffering from postpartum depression when she left, that she'd sought treatment, recovered, and was now ready to be a mother again, that Derek had poisoned Lily against her, that Victoria was an unsuitable stepmother with ties to criminal elements. The tabloids went wild. CEO's daughter caught in custody battle. Blackwell heir accused of stealing child. Gold digger or good Samaritan, the truth about Victoria Blackwell. Victoria watched the coverage with growing fury. They're lying, she said. They're printing straight-up lies. That's what tabloids do. We have to fight back, issue a statement, tell our side of the story. No. Derek's voice was calm. We tell our side in court where it matters. The tabloids will move on to the next scandal in a week. The court ruling will last forever. How can you be so calm? Because panicking won't help. Derek sat beside her. And because I know something Caroline doesn't. What? I know Lily. He smiled slightly. Whatever story Caroline tells, whatever lies she spreads, Lily knows the truth. She knows who raised her, who loved her, who was there every single day. He paused. And in the end, that's what the judge will see too. The custody hearing lasted 4 days. 4 days of testimony. 4 days of lawyers arguing. 4 days of Victoria sitting in that courtroom holding Derek's hand, praying they hadn't underestimated Caroline. Lily wasn't present for most of it. The judge wanted to shield her from the conflict. But on the 3rd day, she was called to testify. Victoria's heart nearly stopped when the tiny girl walked to the front of the courtroom. She looked so small, so vulnerable. The judge smiled kindly at her. Hello, Lily. Do you know why you're here? Because my mommy and daddy have to talk to you about something important. That's right. Can I ask you some questions? Okay. Who takes care of you? My daddy and Victoria. What does Victoria do for you? Lily thought about it. She makes breakfast sometimes. She burned the eggs at first, but now they're good. She reads me stories. She taught me how to braid my hair fancy. She holds me when I have nightmares. A pause. She's my mom now. Caroline's lawyer objected. Your Honor, the witness is confusing. Let her speak, the judge said firmly. He continued gently. Do you remember the woman who came to see you before? The one who said she was your mother? The one who went away? Yes. Lily's face clouded. She left when I was little. Daddy said she had to go somewhere. I asked when she was coming back and he said he didn't know. Her voice trembled. I waited for a long time. I drew pictures for her, but she never came. The courtroom was silent. Do you want her to come back now? Lily looked at Victoria, then at Derek, then at the judge. I already have a mom, she said simply. Victoria loves me. She stays. She doesn't go away. Victoria couldn't hold back the tears anymore. Derek squeezed her hand so hard it almost hurt. The judge nodded slowly. Thank you, Lily. You've been very brave. The ruling came on the fourth day. The judge looked at Caroline with barely concealed contempt. Mrs. Chen, you abandoned your daughter at age 3. You made no attempt to contact her for 3 years. You provided no financial support, no emotional support, no evidence of any parental involvement whatsoever. Caroline's lawyer tried to speak. I'm not finished, the judge said sharply. You appear before this court now, coincidentally after your ex-husband married into significant wealth, claiming you want to be a mother again. But nothing in your testimony convinces me that you actually want a relationship with your daughter. What you want is money. Caroline's face went red. Custody is denied. Visitation is denied. Your parental rights are hereby terminated. The judge's gavel came down. This case is closed. Victoria sagged with relief. Derek pulled her into his arms. It was over. It was finally over. They walked out of the courthouse into the afternoon sun. Lily ran toward them from where the security team had been keeping her. Daddy, Victoria! Derek scooped her up and held her tight. Hey, sweetheart. Did you win? We won, baby, we won. Lily's face lit up. Does that mean we get ice cream? Derek laughed a real laugh full of relief and joy and love. Yeah, sweetheart, we get ice cream. Victoria watched them together, father and daughter, her family. And she realized something. This was happiness, not the mansion, not the money, not the power or prestige or social standing. This moment, this man, this child. This was everything she'd ever wanted, and she finally had it. 1 year after the night Victoria proposed to a stranger in the rain, they renewed their vows. Not in a courthouse this time, not with borrowed suits and $30 dresses. In the backyard of their new house, a modest place in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing like the Blackwell mansion, surrounded by the people who mattered. Mr. Wong from the laundromat, who had somehow become like an uncle to Lily. Mrs. Patterson, fully reformed, who cried through the entire ceremony. Emily, the lawyer, who Victoria now considered her closest friend. The women from the shelter who Victoria had helped rebuild their lives. Even Webb, the security chief, stood in the back with his team pretending not to smile. The officiant was a local pastor Derek had known for years. Do you, Derek Chen, take Victoria Blackwell to be your lawfully wedded wife? To have and to hold from this day forward, for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health. To love and to cherish until death do you part. Derek looked at Victoria. His eyes were shining. I do. And do you, Victoria Blackwell, take Derek Chen to be your lawfully wedded husband? To have and to hold from this day forward, for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish until death do you part. Victoria smiled. I do. Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Derek pulled her close and kissed her. The small crowd cheered. Lily ran forward and wrapped her arms around both of them. Does this mean Victoria's my mom for real now? Derek laughed. She's been your mom for real for a long time, sweetheart. I know, but now it's official. Lily grinned. Can I call you Mom now? Victoria knelt down, tears streaming down her face. You can call me whatever you want, baby. Okay, Mom. Lily hugged her tight. I love you, Mom. I love you too, Lily, so much. Derek wrapped his arms around both of them, his girls, his family, his home. Later that night, after the guests had gone and Lily was asleep, Victoria and Derek sat on their porch watching the stars. Can you believe it's been a year? Victoria asked. Sometimes it feels like forever. Sometimes it feels like yesterday. Do you regret it? Derek looked at her. Regret what? Any of it. The chaos, the scandal, the custody battle, all of it. Not for a second. He took her hand. You know what I regret? That I didn't find you sooner, that I spent 3 years thinking I wasn't worth loving, that I almost said no that night in the rain. He paused. I regret every moment I wasn't with you. Victoria's heart swelled. That's the most romantic thing you've ever said. I've been saving it. She laughed and leaned against his shoulder. They sat in comfortable silence watching the stars. Victoria, yeah. Thank you. For what? For choosing me, for seeing me when everyone else looked right through me, for giving me a chance when you had every reason not to. Derek's voice was thick with emotion. You saved me, you know. Not with money, not with power, just by believing I was worth saving. Victoria turned to face him. You saved me too, she said. I was drowning in that mansion, trapped in a life I never chose, and you reached out your hand and pulled me into something real, something true. She touched his face. You taught me what family means, what love means, what home means. I didn't teach you anything. I just reminded you what you already knew. Then thank you for reminding me. Derek kissed her forehead. Always. They stayed on the porch until the stars faded and the first light of dawn crept over the horizon. A new day, a new beginning. A life built not on contracts or money or desperation, but on love, real love. The kind that survives everything, the kind that grows stronger with every challenge, the kind that makes broken people whole. Victoria looked at the man beside her. The man who had nothing and gave her everything. Derek looked at the woman beside him, the woman who had everything and chose him anyway. And they both knew with absolute certainty that they had found something most people spend their whole lives searching for, not wealth, not status, not power, something better, something rarer, something that money could never buy and time could never break. They found each other. And that was everything. Because in the end, it was never about the $100,000. It was never about the contract or the arrangement or the desperate proposal in the rain. It was about a tired man who saw a drowning woman and chose to help. It was about a trapped woman who saw a kind soul and chose to trust. It was about two broken people who found each other in the darkness and decided to build something beautiful together. Wealth doesn't decide a marriage. Kindness does. Trust does. Love does. And sometimes, just sometimes, the most desperate words spoken by a stranger in the rain can open the door to the family you've been searching for your whole life. This is that story, and now it's complete.